man, name is Gifted. Government name is Terrence. Born and raised in New Orleans, from the West Bank. Raised by a single mom. You know, I always say my parents were superheroes. You know, both of them had superpowers. My mom, she was Wonder Woman, always there for me. Anything that I need, the woman to pop up. My daddy, he was the invisible man, so was never around. They use their powers just differently. I got the same old hood story, bro. I had an appetite for destruction. You know, not having that man, having that absolute guidance in my life. You know, I went left. You know, started smoking, drinking real young. You know, had my first baby, 14, making 15, man. Just doing everything backwards, you know. But I was raised in church. You know, my mom and my grandmother, they did their best. And, you know, always had a love for reading. Always had a love for writing. And when I discovered hip-hop, bro, that was just a life changer for me, man. So, you know, 84, 85, 86, them years of Run DMC, LL, Rakim, Crush Groove.
Come on now.
You know what I mean? Like, man, you know, Breaking, Electric Boogaloo. You know what I'm saying?
Beat Street. Come on,
Beat Street. You know what I'm saying? That life changer, man. So that's me, man, in a nutshell, bro. I love God. I love people. I love life. You know, I do music. I'm also an educator, you know, so not only, you know, do I rap, I have a master's in education, you know what I'm saying? And I teach 8th grade English. So, I mean, hey, man, I'm trying to squeeze as much out of life as I possibly can, bro. That's the plan.
Man, that's dope. So tell us over there in New Orleans, man. We're here in Texas.
Yeah.
Tell us about, you know, some of the you know, what was it like? What part of that you say you're at in New Orleans? Help the people that don't understand. Kind of take us there, if you would.
Man, New Orleans is a beautiful place, man. It's a place, it's a vibrant place. You know, the music, the food, the people, you know, the style, you know, the way we talk, the way we move, the way we dress, man. You know, New Orleans is a very significant place. It's a place where I think is perfect for creatives. You know, whether you're a painter, a musician, a dancer. I mean, you know, when you walk in the quarters, everybody hustling. You know, you got kids on the corner tap dancing with bottle caps on their feet, all the way down to the dude that's playing the sax. You know, this is good, if not better than Kenny G. From the West Bank, you know, New Orleans divided East Bank and West Bank from the West Bank and the Mississippi. And it was just a great place growing up, man. Not now. It's different now for us with the youth, but we always had something to do. Every park had a football team, basketball team, baseball team. Every school had talent shows and back to school dances, after exam dances, winter formal, prom. Like, the city was always popping, man. And so growing up in the city, it was a wonderful time. And it was also dangerous, you know. I think every place has its good side and has its bad side. You know, we had a lot of projects from uptown to downtown to the West Bank. And, you know, there's a lot of violence, you know, going on. Early 90s, of course, we was the murder capital of the world. So that was that part too, you know what I mean? So it's all in what you entertain and what you was around. It go based with your experience, you know. So it was a beautiful thing. I love my city, man. I love Houston too, though.
Yeah, man. No, you know. So tell us about that. So during that time, we were talking about hip hop, right? So, man, talk to us about like Master P during that time, because that was huge, you know.
Yeah.
You know, Master P, and then of course the Hot Boys, you know, with Baby and Wayne and everybody, Juvie.
Yeah.
Can you tell us anything about that, like as far as where they grew up, where you grew up, or anything about that?
Absolutely, man. So even before, you know, going nationwide, you know, our music scene was, like I said, vibrant. It was big. And so our local artists were already superstars to us, you know, from your Juveniles to your Lil Waynes to your Sporties, Trey A, Tim Smooth, MC Thick, Bust Down, Ice Mike. I can name a plethora of artists that were already superstars.
Right.
Master P never came from that local scene. You know, we found out about P from California. P didn't get big in New Orleans. He got big in California. So
the Calio project.
Yeah, you're from the Calio. Yeah. But that wasn't, when all that was going on, we didn't know who a Master P or C Murder or Silk the Shocker was. It wasn't like that. Okay. When he found out about No Limit, once he got the deal with Priority, he was already gone. And so, but being from the city, he was putting on for the city got behind him, you know, but Cash Money really was, because that's the names you mentioned. But we had another label called Take 4 Records, DJ Jubilee, you know, Big Ram, Too Sweet, Willie Puckett. So they were just as popular. They just never got the major deal. But well, with Cash Money, they were already major in the city, man, already selling thousands and thousands and thousands upon records. Yeah. But when P got the deal, because Cash Money never had a national deal, so when P got the deal, that was the real inspiration for us because it was one of our hometown people, you know, that made big in music, man. So watching that movement was absolutely amazing. And then, you know,
what side of I know I've seen some interviews. Maybe you can kind of help us with this. Yeah. But there were some interviews that talked about how there were some, you know, problems because of where P was from and where Baby was from. What part was P from? And
so all of them from Uptown.
Okay.
So geographically, I mean, I can't really say how big Uptown is, but it's big.
Right.
But these projects are minutes apart. So you have the Magnolia and you have the Canio. So the Magnolia and the Canio is maybe 10 minutes away from each other. It's not far whatsoever.
Right.
But just as far as just as close as it is, the people can be just as far.
Gotcha.
And nobody got along with anybody. And that was unfortunate because the Cash Money and No Limit would have been able to join forces.
Yeah.
It may have been a powerful thing for the city. But it wasn't necessarily Baby or P that had contention.
Yeah.
It's the people around them.
Gotcha.
You know, Baby had killers, P had killers, and those killers was killing each other.
Gotcha.
It's kind of hard to have a concert with that. You know, somebody gonna be on stage rapping, somebody gonna be behind stage fighting and shooting at each other.
Yeah.
So they could never, you know, merge. But it's that's the proximity is crazy, bro. Like I said, the Canio is here, Magnolia is here. Then we had the Melfamine here. You had the St. Thomas was kind of down, but all these projects are minutes apart, man. Minutes apart. But they could never. It wouldn't have never worked.
Man, so like when the music, like over here was electrifying when you had like Juvie coming out. You know, like or any of the hits, right? So even Master P, you know, he would come out with an album every month, it felt like, you know what I mean? And we would go and get the tapes back in those days when they would come out. So it was a big deal for us. Was it a big deal as big a deal for you guys in Louisiana?
Absolutely, man. Especially being an artist.
Yeah.
You know, that showed us work ethic. You know what I mean? Like, at No Limit's height, they were dropping shucks. It felt like 2 albums a week.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then, you know, being affiliated, we recorded with Carlos Stevens out in the Green Studio. He is part of Beats by the Pound. Odell is a good friend of mine.
I heard about that.
Beats by the Pound. So that was the same way Cash Money had Man and Fresh, No Limit had Beats by the Pound.
Gotcha.
Jesus, my people, you know what I mean? So being affiliated and just watching that, you know, that hunger, that tenacity that these artists had, man, it showed you that hard work would trump talent anytime. Because, I mean, I'm going to just be factual. Outside of Mac, Fiend, Mystical, X, you know, No Limit ain't really had no super rappers, you know what I mean? The workload, man, they put out it got to the point to where you didn't really care about what artists was dropping. It was just going to get the new No Limit. What it is, I don't even know. It's a new No Limit record. So it was very inspiring, you know, just as a person from the city, as a fan of music, and especially as an artist, you know what I'm saying? Very inspiring.
And then Mystical, you know, he came on to see, that was crazy.
Said, bro, Mystical was a phenomenon, man. But, you know, again, I'm involved in a lot of this stuff. Where I'm from, Kennedy Heights, we had a cat named Tim Smooth.
Yeah.
You know, if it wasn't for Tim Smooth, it wouldn't be a Mystical. You know what I'm saying? Tim molded Mystical like Frankenstein.
Really?
You know what I'm saying? Helped them with rhymes, helped them from the way Mystical walk, talk, move to his sideburns. Tim Smooth, rest in peace, Tim. I'ma always salute the homie, man, because Tim from my hood. Tim, I lived on Travis, Tim lived on Lehman. I know his family and I know the talent that we lost with the passing of Tim Smooth. And a lot of times he don't get his flowers, man. So whenever I can, I'm always give Tim his flowers, man. So yes, Mystical was a phenomenal talent, but Tim helped give us that talent. And I'm going to salute the home every time I get a chance.
Yeah, man. No, that's awesome. Then, of course, you got Wayne, who was, you know, young back then, and then now he is who he is today.
Yeah, Wayne's a freak of nature, bro. That's all anybody can say about Wayne. I mean, you can have your opinion about this or have your opinion about that, but Wayne is a freak of nature, man. He is a walking, breathing musical phenomenon. He's been that way since he was small. We first called Lil Wayne, you know, he was 10, 11 years old, man.
Yeah.
Always nice, clearly, easily at 12, 13 years old, if not the best, one of the best rappers in the room.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, man, you know, again, I don't agree, you know, obviously, how I rock, I don't agree with the messaging.
Of course.
I respect the talent. I respect the work ethic. He lives in the studio, even now, you know, in his 40s, you know, Wayne is not partying, he's working. And that has to be commendable. Again, you know, outside of the message.
Right.
You know, because I have a whole nother opinion,
of course,
you know, on Wayne, you know what I'm saying? But I respect him as a hard worker and the gift that he has.
Right, right.
Yeah.
All right, man. So appreciate you for kind of giving us some insight, being from Louisiana, about the hip hop industry there in Louisiana. You know, so your story, being young, take us through some of that, if you would. Unpack that. What was it like?
So in the city, you know, where I'm from and in my neighborhood, you know, everything was there. I mean, we had the cold cup later, the candy later, cold cup. That's when you take, being out of the city, I learned a lot. Our conversations are different, bro. Something as simple as a cold drink. To us, a cold drink is a soda, like Sprite, Coke, you know, Welch's or whatever. We say cold drink, but out, you know, everywhere else, a cold drink is literally a cold drink. You can have tea, milk, water. So anyway,
yeah.
So growing up in the city, everything was there, bro. You can go to the candy lady, get you a cold cup, get you a pickle, some Lay's potato chips, a pig lip. But then at the same time, right next to the candy lady, you had the drug house. You know, so growing up in that dynamic, you saw it all. So you either was involved in it or you was right next to it.
Right.
My mom and my grandmother, they did their best, man, to hold me down and to raise, you know, a young man to the best of their capabilities. But the hood was still right there every time I walked outside, and it attracted me, you know, especially by me rapping, by me dancing. I'm involved in the culture, and with that culture, it comes with something, you know. And so also the absence of my father, I didn't have, you know, that man, you know. And hey, I love my mom. My mom was my best friend. I would never say that a woman cannot raise a man. I don't believe that, because a woman did raise a man. You're looking at me.
Come on.
But I needed a man. You know, I did. I needed my father. And so to help me navigate these waters, because like I said, I'm young, man. So you got all this available to you. And I'm, you know, all sin is fun, man.
Yeah.
Darkness is fun. It's not all bad like that. It feels great. It's very enjoyable. So for a young man having this access, that's hard to navigate. You know, you need a stern voice to help you navigate that. So anyway, not having my father, you know, that had those voids. And so I got involved in a lot of things to fill those voids, you know, at 12, 13, drinking, smoking, sex, you know what I mean, running the streets, just doing my thing. Like I said earlier, the same old hood story. It's not unique, bro.
Yeah.
From New Orleans to Sao Paulo, Brazil, man. The hood is the same thing. It's the same foolishness, the same misdirection, the same broken homes, you know, and some of us make it, some of us don't. Some of us grow up, some of us grow down. You know, but that's really it, man. You know, a lot of bad decisions, and I thank God for his grace and his mercy, because for many reasons I shouldn't be sitting here before you right now, even doing this interview. I've been shot in my face, you know, bullet came in here, came out here. For anybody that's listening to the podcast, I pointed to my face, you know, with my jaw. But, you know, blood, you know, my own blood, I'm looking at it, you know, all on the street. And then ironically, where I got shot at, the fire station I got shot in front of, that's named after my grandfather, Herbert Waters, Avondale Fire Station. So the irony of that, drinking, you know, being loaded, falling asleep behind a wheel.
Hold on. So if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Take us back to the shooting,
okay?
If you could. What went through your mind at that point when that happened?
Good question. I wasn't thinking at that time. You know, we had beef with another neighborhood, Claiborne Garden, and some cats from the West Bank, Mororo, and all that. Big fight broke out. I was behind the truck. My brother, he was in front of the truck. and I don't know if he had a death wish or he was in shock, but he was in front of the truck, and you can hear the bullets hitting the truck. Ping, 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 ping. And I'm not talking about like one dude shooting. I'm talking about like 10, 14 people with guns.
Yeah.
And we just across the street from one another. And so I heard my brother's voice. And at that moment, all I knew is I can't let my brother die. And so I jumped up, ran through that, grabbed him. As soon as I grabbed him and threw him down, I got hit in my face. And so in that moment, you know, once I saw that blood and everything, shucks, the only thought that I had was run.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, but after that, once those emotions settled down and reality set in, I realized that I was, you had Tupac and I was 3 Pac. That's how I felt.
Yeah.
I'm bouncing. Buster shot me one time. I took it and smiled.
Yeah.
I'm ignorant. I'm not thinking about the grace of God and nothing like that. I'm thinking like, and the boys was shooting. They didn't really know what they was doing. Them guns, man, whatever. I'm thinking foolishly because that's where I was at,
Yeah.
I got shot, shucks. Maybe it was a Thursday, Friday night. I was in the club with stitches and a bandage on my face Sunday celebrating,
Wow.
So just being honest, that was my thought.
Yeah.
But obviously years later, I know about the grace and the mercy of God, man. That bullet went through my jaws. It didn't touch my teeth, didn't touch my gums.
Wow.
So I give God all the glory for that, man, because I shouldn't be here, man. I got people get shot in the arm and die,
Yeah, yeah.
So that was my mindset then, and that's my mindset now.
Yeah, yeah. Tell us about, as you, growing up and making some unhealthy choices and then consequences as you're talking about kind of came in with all that, and then just being a part of the environment. At what point did you embrace grace?
Man, 18. I was 18, fresh out of high school, graduated in 99. My circle that I was with, my girlfriend at the time, her sister was a prophetess. Real, and like I said, I grew up in church, bro. Like, I was a junior deacon, sung in the children's choir, New Zion Baptist Church, where the pastor is C.S. Gordon Jr.
Wow.
Awesome, man. Church right there uptown, across from the Magnolia. I grew up in that church, man. So my mama, like I said, there's no indictment on my family, and my mama did her best. But at that time, I just didn't understand about the obedience. I didn't understand. I looked at God like, I got this weed in my car. God don't let me get pulled over. I'm about to go hit this chick. Please don't let her get pregnant. That's how I talk to God. I ain't know no better, man.
Gotcha.
And so I had an idea about God, but fast forward to when her name was Valeria, shout out V. She invited us to church. And I ain't had no problem going to church. I grew up in church.
Yeah.
So, man, I went, bro, sat in the back of the church. They're doing all that hot bullshit, all that stuff. And I'm laughing, you know what I mean? Hey, man, go ahead. Yeah, gotcha. You know what I mean? Do your thing.
Yeah.
But then Pastor Johnson, that's his name, Dwayne Johnson, he called me up, bro. And that boy started talking to me, Pastor G. And the stuff that he started saying, I know it had to be God, bro. I'm not talking about no random stuff. Somebody up in here has a headache. Nah, nothing like that, dog. He was talking, bro, some intimate stuff. Yeah. And it was in that moment, I was like, whoa, it gotta be something to this.
Yeah.
God stuff. I like this. This is deep.
Yeah.
And so from there, dog, that was 99. I ain't never left church since, bro. Man, never left. I can count on my hands, the times I can miss a service. I'm saying just being lazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
From 99, bro, I've been rocking.
Saying tapped in.
Cut off stocking.
No, that's awesome. So the transition and the transformation.
Yeah.
Can you talk to us about the early years of your transformation? What sticks out to you as you reflect on that might have been the hardest for you?
Man, arrogance.
How so?
Oh man, I'm a street dude through and through. And also I've always been very intelligent. So that's a dangerous mixture, man. You got a street dude that have that street mentality, but also is very smart, very articulate. That's a weird combination when it's not balanced, man. So, when I got saved, I'm like, I'm the man. You know what I mean? Like, you say a cuss word around me, boy, I'm jumping down your throat. You smoking it was horrible, bro. And I felt like I'm doing this in the name of Jesus. No, I wasn't. No, I was not. I was totally doing it for me. Totally doing it. God forgive me. I know I can hurt so many people, man, with their arrogance, their pride. But so definitely that's the first thing that sticks out, the arrogance that I had, because I was excited to be learning something new.
Right.
But I didn't know about grace and mercy and love, so
humility.
Yeah, militant, right. Just stupidly militant though.
Yeah.
So anyway, so arrogance, but then the struggle, you know what I'm saying? Like I was never really a big drinker. I drank, Crazy Horse, Mad Dog, Orange Jubilee, Banana Red, all that. But I was a big smoker. Smoking was my thing. So it took me like 2.5 years. I had to go to church high.
Yeah.
Camping off beat. I'm in that thing, you know what I'm saying? Because my pastor at the time, he had a philosophy. He always said, look, I don't care what you do on a Saturday night. I want you here Sunday morning. He always said that you don't go to work, run your bath water, sit next to the tub, change your clothes, and walk out the bathroom. You go to work, take off your clothes, get in the tub, get clean. And he was like, that's what coming to church does. You getting in the tub. You dirty. You got to get clean. So no matter what, get in the tub. And so that really encouraged me, to really keep moving forward. Because, a lot of times the lie, and it's totally a lie, the devil tell us, man, I want to be real. I want to be real whatever I do. I don't want to be fake. So, I ain't going to church till I'm ready. Boy, you ain't going to never be ready. The devil going to make sure you ain't never ready. You know what I mean? So, yeah, so that arrogance.
Wait, so you didn't get kicked out of the church being high?
No, indeed, man. No, indeed. No, he welcomed that. This church, man, Pastor Johnson, church, what I've learned is that church was never designed to be a museum for perfect people. Church was designed to be a hospital for sick people.
Come on.
That's what it's supposed to be. That's what come as you are means. It's not talking about fitted hats and tennis shoes and suits. It's talking about your heart state.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, man, he was very acceptance, man. Come. I don't care if you're a drug dealer, killer, liar, stripper, scammer, whatever it is. Come. You welcome, man. We go sit you down here. We go teach you this word. We go do life with you and get you to a healthy place.
How important has that been to you in that pivotal moment that you didn't get booted or, shunned or, those type of things?
It was everything, bro. It was everything, because church hurt is probably Satan's biggest weapon that he uses to push us out, So really being accepted, not being judged, really being taught, being properly disciplined, from a place of love, man, that was life-changing, man. It taught me everything about what the scripture stands of. Love is the most powerful thing in the Bible. And, even now, when I do ministry, I see on social media, everybody attacking everybody. If you put your left shoe on first before you put your right shoe on, it ain't godly, and this doctrine and that doctrine. And we so busy doing that to where we missing, like, bro, everybody got to get delivered from there's babes, and then you get mature in Christ. Everybody got to walk. Yeah. And so if you hurt somebody walk when they first starting out, man, you can push them smooth away from God, because anybody that's outside, shucks, even us that's inside, we tend to judge God based on the behavior of people, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so if a person misbehaves in front of you or, treats you in a reckless manner, 9 times out of 10, what people say, see, that's why I don't go to church now.
That's right.
See, that's why I don't do that God stuff now. So, yeah, man, that was a life-changing experience for me, because that's everything. That's God. Right. God, that's what the blood of Jesus does. It allows us to always be able to repent and to live under that grace and that mercy to come into the Father, because he has stretched hands. He says he'll leave the 99 and go after the one.
Straight up.
You know what I mean? So that's a life-changing thing that I would never let go of, bro.
Gifted, you talked about, you mentioned a powerful word earlier. You were talking about love, which God is love. God doesn't have love, so he is love. So embracing love and living out of love is allowing God to work through you to others. But you used a powerful word, and you said discipline. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, man.
Especially talking about in the early days, right? All the way up to this point.
Without discipline, bro, there's no foundation. The strongest thing is to be able to deny yourself. That's the fight. You know, that's the daily fight. Paul said the things I want to do, I don't do, and the things I don't do, things I don't want to do, I do. That's that fight. That's why we got to renew our minds daily. Like I said, starting out, I just thought God was my partner. He understood everything. You know what we say? God knows my heart. No, man, God knows his word. That's it. Ain't no if, ands, buts about it. He know his word. Yeah. And so there is a standard, dog. Like if I order Domino's and if a dude show up to my house wearing a Pizza Hut uniform, that's gonna be a problem. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And so it's the same thing, dog. There is a standard, bro. Like we have grace and mercy, but you know, if we get deep into it, that grace and mercy runs out. He will love you forever. Yeah. But there is an expectation that God has for his people, man. So discipline is everything. Discipline will be that deciding factor on at the end of the day whether you're going to heaven or hell. You know, of course, I'm not nobody's judge. I believe that there is a weakness that we all have, and there's a wickedness that we all have, and you have to develop your spiritual muscles so you can, because you always have a weakness. You ain't gonna never walk in perfection. That's just not happening. Yeah. But some stuff you just ain't got to do. You know, God does not, like, there's no negotiations with God. You know what I'm saying? His word is his word. Yeah. And so, yeah, man, discipline, and that goes from, and we always, when we talk about sin and discipline, you know, we go to the big stuff, murder, sex, but dog, it can be something as simple as eating too much. Being gluttonous is a sin. So if you can't discipline yourself enough to push away from a table and put the pizza down, you're in trouble. You know what I'm saying? So discipline is everything. I mean, for your success, for your salvation, for your health. Yeah. I mean, every aspect of life where there's a lack of discipline, you will have some issues, bro. So discipline is everything.
Thank you for sharing that. In your faith journey, bro, how has accountability set in the form of fellowship, brotherhood, sister, you know what I mean? The family of God. How has that worked for you?
Bro, man, accountability is probably up there with discipline, because my pastor, Juan Martinez, shout out to Get Rap Church, he's a big homie. He always says that people were not meant to be alone. Okay. You need community, bro. You need community. That's why, like, whenever you get angry or depressed, anything negative, the first thing you want to do is be alone. Just leave me alone. Yeah. And that's why the old folks used to say the idle mind is the devil's workshop. Okay. Accountability is everything. You cannot trust yourself with your own mind, with your own decision making, man, because we got a way of convincing ourselves to do anything. We can rationalize anything, right? Yeah. And the great prophet Michael Jackson said it the best. I'm talking to the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change my ways. So being able to check yourself is cool, but having people around you that can check you is even cooler, because you only have your point of view. That's it, first person point of view. But when you add in those accountability partners, they can see a lot of times what you can't see, or more importantly, what you ain't willing to see. Come on. What you in denial about. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So accountability is everything, bro. I got a circle. I got people that I talk to about my money. Yeah. I got people that I talk to about relationship, about God, about my children, about dog. I got a strong circle because I know I can't trust myself that much. So accountability, and listen, man, everybody under the sound of my voice, man, get you some godly people that will hold you accountable. The Bible says that whom God loves, he chastises, man. So you gotta have them hard conversations. You gotta have people that's willing to get in your face. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And tell you when your slip's showing. You're doing too much, homie. You need to pull back off that.
Straight like that.
Yeah, accountability is everything, dog.
You know, I've always said what I've realized throughout these years, you know, is that a person left alone with their own thoughts is a dangerous person. Man. That's the most dangerous place to be in, is left alone with your own thoughts. Bro. And so it's so important what you're saying is to be a part of a healthy community, not just any community, but healthy community. Healthy. Yeah. And you know, you're saying some things that are really, really pivotal and important, because you want to find a coach, a mentor, a community of folks that can pour into certain areas of your life. If you're married, if you're single, if you're whatever it is, right? Whether it's through a book that you're learning from somebody from, or a group that you're in, which is important to have people in front of you to be able to talk through some of those things. But to have coaches and disciples is what we call it. But to have these type of folks in your life that can help you to make sure that you're not alone, left with your own thoughts, because that is an unhealthy place to be in.
Yeah, bro. Very unhealthy, man.
So man, talk to us about, okay, man, so we appreciate you letting us know about, where you're from there in Louisiana, giving us some hip-hop culture there, speaking into that, and then talking about, your transformation, as your perspective has changed and there's been a transition there, and how that's been tough at times, for sure. But you've been walking through and making it up into this day, right? So that's a beautiful thing. Can you speak about now, as not only have you transitioned in your faith journey, right, but you've also transitioned from, Louisiana. Now you're here in Texas and Houston, to be exact. And so can you tell us about that experience, how that came about, and all the way up into where you're at now?
No doubt, man. So, man, I have a good friend of mine. His name is PJ.
Okay.
He has a Hebrew name. Now I can't pronounce it. I would have gave you a shout out, PJ, but I can't pronounce your name. It's like, I don't know. Anyway, so I never forget, man, 2005, January, him and I were conversing, and homie said, hey, I'm about to move to Tennessee. And I said, for what? You got people out there? And he was like, no, God told me he would destroy New Orleans with a flood. I'm like, what? Man, you sound stupid, man. Get out of here. Man. The whole city, cut out, man. This is January 2005, bro. Right hand of God. 8 months, what? January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. August is the 8th month. 8 months later, bro, the city is underwater.
Wow.
And all I can hear is his words ringing like, Jesus Christ, bro. So we went to came to Houston. We went to Atlanta first. Okay. FEMA set up shop here and here in Houston. And we came to Houston, bro. And Houston just, man, when I say embrace us, man, and I've heard some different stories, bro, but I don't have that situation, man.
Right.
Houston took care of us, dog.
Wow.
Straight up. I'd be talking in Walgreens or Walmart or something like that, and somebody hear my accent and just come walk to me, put $50 in my hand, pay for the groceries, put $100, like, love, bro. The convention center, the George R. Brown, man.
Yeah.
In that convention center, you can go get a haircut, go to the dentist, go to the doctor, get food, housing, clothes, entertainment. Bill Cosby, poor Bill. But before the stuff, Bill Cosby came to the, Oprah Winfrey came, like, Houston was phenomenal, bro. And so anyway, as you can tell, Hurricane Katrina sent me here, man. And, we lived in the hotel for about 4 or 5 months. And then FEMA came through, got us placed in a home. And, man, I just, I didn't want to raise my kids in New Orleans, Here had more opportunity. I love the culture, Hispanic people, white people, Indian people, and I just love the city, man. And then, mathematically it made sense for us opportunity and things of that sort. And so that's how I got to Houston, man. Hurricane Katrina.
Wow. What was your experience? Take us kind of through that as far as all the way up into this point, landing in H-Town, from work, from, career path to your faith journey. What was happening within, that time frame?
Good question, man. There's a lot of moving parts, bro. Shucks, where do I begin? So obviously, living in a hotel, feeding the kids out of ice chests and stuff like that. Never lived like that. I ain't never been rich, but I always had something to eat. You know what I'm saying? Standing in those FEMA lines, overnight, getting the cards and stuff like that. That was a serious transition. Getting kids in school, finding housing, but even bigger church, because everything was in New Orleans. So my pastor at the time was Bishop Lester Love. He's part of Full Gospel, one of Paul Martin's sons. And that was the church that we were in. And so he came to Houston, and Pastor, man, he's gonna kill me. It's my man too. Oh, God forgive me, man.
It's that age, bro. Don't
Bro, bro. Oh, this is my man.
We'll circle back. Don't worry about it.
Oh, no. The name of the church is Community of Faith.
Okay.
Why am I drawing the blank? Anyway, I'm gonna be. I gotta Google the homie. No way, because he opened up his church to us, man.
Really?
And so we were having church in his building. And so my bishop, he was going back and forth from New Orleans to here, New Orleans to Houston, New Orleans to Houston.
Wow. So because of what was going on, he followed y'all to make sure that y'all had church going on.
Well, I'm not gonna say he followed us. He ain't had no choice because he lived in New Orleans too.
Oh, gotcha. So he had to bounce with y'all.
His name is Bishop James Dixon.
Okay.
Bishop Dixon, please forgive me, man. My brain, I'm old. My brain's Bishop James Dixon, phenomenal man of God, bro. Big dog in Houston, always on the forefront. But anyway, so I'm not. He didn't follow us. He had to come. So
gotcha.
We all had to come. But what he did was he chose to stay. So he did that for a year, commuting, because he went back home, commuting from New Orleans to Houston. But it came to a point to where financially he just couldn't do it.
Gotcha.
And so he said that, hey, I gotta relinquish the church. I can't keep making this commute like that. Yeah. So from there we went to Lakewood, salute to Joel Osteen, went there for a year, and then saw these spiritual changes.
Yeah.
Then from there, my brother started a church.
So you were going over there with Joel Osteen?
Absolutely, man. I love Joel Osteen.
So
man.
What's his name? Was he going there at the time?
Who is it?
I know it's him. See, now I'm doing it.
Preacher, rapper?
No, he's a rapper.
Rapper? Two Crunk?
Yeah.
This is way after Crunk. Shout out to Crunk. That's my man.
Okay.
It's way before Crunk. Yeah, it's 2005, 2006.
Gotcha.
It's way before that.
Anyway,
so we did that for a year. And then my brother started a church, helped him build his ministry, did that for 7 years. And then transition came again. And I joined Get Rap Ministries. And that's where I've been at for, about the past 7 years, man.
And who'd you say the pastor is there?
Juan Martinez.
Okay, yeah.
Dude from Puerto Rico, you know what I'm saying? New York, we call New York J.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah, that's my man. Man of wisdom, phenomenal pastor and, just love. He is the walking example of how a human being should walk in love.
Gotcha.
Shout out to Juan Martinez, my man. So anyway, spiritually, yeah, that was, it was, oh man, it was a lot of turns, getting yanked here, getting yanked there, getting rooted, getting back to work, getting the kids in school. It was a life-changing event, bro. I lost, people lose their car keys, people lose their wallets. I lost a whole city, bro. Everything that I've known, I shed blood in those streets. Wow. Everything that was familiar, man. And then Houston is so big, man. But you can drive the whole city in 30 minutes. Houston, shucks, you can spend an hour driving in Katy.
Yeah.
So geographically, it was just change across the board, man. But I liken it to, the Israelites escaping Egypt, not knocking my city. I love my city, man. I love it. But the opportunity is just not there, bro. It's not, there's a lot of overhaul that needs to be done in New Orleans, Louisiana, and we're behind on so much, and so there was no way sensibly that I can go back there. That's why I stayed in Houston, and so it was a lot of transitions, but God walked with me, every step of the way, and here I am.
So you mentioned talk about your career path during this whole time.
Yeah. So my trade, I went to college for business management, but then things happened, and so I started changing 18-wheeler tires. Tires bigger than me.
Wow.
I did that on the road, had a service truck and everything, did that for 10 years. Then I transitioned to FedEx. Okay. Started delivering FedEx, and then I hit this glass ceiling, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like I wanted more, but it was nowhere to go. So I went back to school, man. Like I said, fresh out of high school, I went to college. I stopped going, so once I came to Houston, I had the opportunity to get back at school, man. And so I went back to school, I got my bachelor's in business, kept going, got my master's in education.
Man.
Yeah, man.
Hold on, man. I got these sound effects. I got to do a horn and some hand clapping.
What's up, man?
That's it, man.
Yeah, man.
Hey, that's beautiful to hear. Congratulations, man.
Thank you,
That's
bro.
awesome.
Thank
man.
you. And I did that, working at FedEx. I'm working,
Bro, did you say
12,
your
13
master's?
hours a day.
Doctors?
Yeah, I got my master's in
You
education.
got your master's,
Yeah,
bro.
yes, sir.
Wow.
Yeah, man. And pushing, you know what I'm saying? Working 12, 13 hours a day.
For the people that don't understand, can you talk about what type of commitment is that when you say master? For the people who don't understand that.
I mean, not to toot my own horn, but no, I'm joking. It's just, there's 3 degrees you can get from college.
Okay.
4. You can get your associates,
Okay.
your bachelor's, your master's, and your doctorate.
Okay.
So the master's is that, second highest degree that you can get, man. So it takes commitment. It takes sticktivity. It takes tenacity, especially when you're doing this as a working adult.
How many years did it take you to get to that point?
2 years.
2 years.
2 years. Bachelor's 4 years.
Okay.
Master's 2 years.
Well, that's what I mean. So you had to get your bachelor's first. You can't just get your master's in 2 years.
Yeah.
So it took you 6 years.
6 years
to get to that point.
The whole time working a full-time job.
Yeah.
Whole time. So man, writing 2,500 word papers, 3,000 word papers, man.
Long syllabuses and all that stuff.
You know what I mean? I knew I wanted more though, bro. I mean,
bro.
The Bible says faith without works is dead. You can pray all day, but you have to work that faith. And so you gotta give God something to work with. You know what I mean? So
it reminds me of the Friday movie. It reminds me of the Friday movie with Big Perm, where he's telling Smokey, you gotta apply yourself, Smokey. But I'm playing about my music. But no, man, you applying yourself, man. You're talking about it, you're being about it. So, man, that's beautiful. That's awesome, man. You got your education going on, man. Mm-hmm. What has that done for you up until this point? You talked about you're a teacher. Can you tell us about that?
Man, it opened up a whole nother world. Education is not, school is not, I ain't gonna say education, I'm gonna say school.
Okay.
School is not for everybody.
Right.
College does not guarantee anything.
Right.
But what it does is it does open up different opportunities for he that finishes.
Yes.
But like I tell young people all the time, you can get your education, diplomas, things of that sort, or at least get a trade.
Right.
You have to do something that's going to make you more valuable to the marketplace outside of an entry-level worker. So you get a trade, medical assistant, welding, plumbing, whatever, or, go a degree route. And so it opened up opportunity for me, financially, obviously, but not only that, ministry, man.
Yeah.
Being a teacher, I'm able to do life with these young people every single day, bro.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? And so it's an experience, man, because you're really like their next parent that they have. You spend more time with them really than what they spend with their own kids.
That's facts.
More with their own parents, I mean. And so it opened up just a life-changing experience for me, man. So, when you love what you do, your vocation becomes a vacation.
Mm.
So I absolutely love it, man. So in between my music and in between teaching those kids, man, I'm walking on cloud 9, man.
Man, so tell us about that piece. I'm glad you brought that up, that transition us into that, giving us a segue. Your music. Tell us about your music career. I know you talked about, being over there with Beats by the Pound, and all that. Can you kind of give us a snapshot of that?
Yeah, absolutely. And so I've been rapping since I was 7 years old.
Okay.
Started freestyling and everything. Got my first deal with Take 4, like I said, Juvenile and them, 14. Got another deal, 15, 16 years old with Smoke on Records. That's the first company to ever do a joint venture with Master P, with No Limit. Our artist named Trey 8, God bless the dead. He passed away. And so from there, transitioned into Christian rap. Mm. And that's where I've been since 1999, bro. You know what I mean?
Did you ever get a chance to meet any of the guys out there?
Absolutely.
Who did you get to meet as far as that are known out there that you know?
I mean, everybody. I mean,
really?
Especially in New Orleans. I mean, I've done 1 million concerts with Cash Money.
Really?
1 million concerts with No Limit. Yeah, I mean, I was in the industry. I wasn't outside of it. You know what I mean? I was in the industry. You know what I'm saying? So I know, everybody. Yeah.
Wow. So what was it like being able to be around Master P during that time?
Dope. I mean, just seeing this man, again, like I said, watching him come from where he came from and turn, this record label into a multi-million-dollar company. The word that comes to mind is inspiration. It was inspirational. You know, consistency breaks the back of any problem. So watching that tenacity, watching that consistency always reminded me that, shucks, if he can do it, I can do it.
And what about like Juvie and all them? Like, what was it like?
Man, love Juve, man. You see Juve every Sunday uptown. You know, always in the project. You know, always, you know, parking Bentleys and Ferraris in the middle of the project. You know, Juvenile is the most down-to-earth person you can ever meet. Turk, Hot Boy Turk.
Yeah, Turk.
I actually have a song with Turk.
Is that right?
That I've been sitting on. Turk, you know, man, all them dudes, regular dudes, man. You know, even Baby, you know, always humble, always kind, you know, all the way over to
Slim.
Prince, Slim, everybody, man. You know, Slim, that's, you know, super smart, super humble. Jay, you know, I love Jay. You know, Jay, matter of fact, with 007, with the Fifth Ward Boyz, him and I, we have a group called Raw.
So you're talking about Texas now.
So yeah, so
we're in New Orleans, so we'll make sure for everybody.
So I'm sorry, going back to New Orleans. So, Baby and them, the only person, honestly, is funny. Only person that I've never met in my life is Wayne.
Wow.
Never. Wayne was like a ghost.
Really?
You know, he wasn't no outside dude like that. And so he was always real insulated. You know, I never met Wayne, but I know everybody else. Turk, Juvie, BG, Slim, Manny Fresh, you know, everybody.
So as we talk about the music, before we transition to Texas, as you give them some shout outs there, could you, there was a comment that Wayne made on an interview. I want to get your perspective on what he said, because there's a lot of, you know, back and forth on one end or the other about it. But I remember he was being questioned about police, and he was saying that his perspective. He talks about when he got shot, left for dead, that his homies left, his folks they were just like him, looked just like him, come from the same not only city but neighborhood. They left him there to die, and there was a guy that walked in. There was a police officer that didn't leave him. A lot of the other policemen, if I get this right, they chased everybody else. Yep. He stopped and he gave them aid, and he says if it weren't for that guy to this day that he would have died. And so he kind of gives them his flowers, but there was a lot of back and forth about how you're going to give a law enforcement person the flowers, you know, that kind of stuff. What is your thoughts on that? Could you share your perspective?
Of course, man. As an ex-criminal, you know, there's supposed to be an art in between criminals and police.
Okay.
How could you get along? Your job is to catch me. My job is to avoid you. Doing crime, I got to be lucky every single day. You just got to be lucky one time to catch me. So obviously, that's easily to understand. But once you get past that and you mature, I hate broad generalizations, man.
Okay.
I don't believe that everybody or everything is all of anything or all of everybody. You know, there's negative and positive in every aspect of life.
Okay.
So you have bad police, you have good police.
Yeah.
I've experienced bad police. I've seen two of my partners beat to a pulp. I don't know if you used to watch Martin.
Right.
But there's a scene where Martin
he's all messed up. Yeah.
I've seen that with my own eyes.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? But I've also, you know, seen some great officers. I know some great officers.
Yeah.
And that's just that divide, bro. You know what I'm saying? So I love police. I love criminals too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I love everybody.
Gotcha.
Do I understand that there is a problem in between the relationship and officers and just the community at large? Of course. But I'm not going to allow bad apples to speak for the bunch. Because like I said, I do a lot of prison ministry, and I have friends, you know, specifically, I got a good friend I grew up with. His name is Eric Carr. He's a 25-year vet right here in HPD. And he has a company called the BLEA. And what he does is he teaches at TSU at college, and there's a course that he does that teaches the community how to interact with officers and teaches officers how to interact with the community. So I know some awesome cops that's trying to do some good things. But anyway, back to the situation. I'm very familiar with that story. The guy named white dude's name's Uncle Bob. He's dead now, as a matter of fact. But very familiar with that story. And yeah, I mean, that's the perspective. I mean, coming up, bro, I never had my problems with police was I was trying not to get caught.
Right on.
But when I got my gun, I got my first gun, 13, 14 years old. I got that for Peanut and Pookie, not for the police. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, Pac said it the best. Pac said, They say it's the white man that I should fear, but it's my own kind doing all the killing here. You know, that's just the reality of life. I'm not about to act like that's not a reality, bro. And so anyway, I digress. But to answer the direct question, far as that comment, I fully understand.
Gotcha.
There's some phenomenal police doing some phenomenal police work, and there's some awful officers doing some awful stuff, man.
Right on.
You gotta let the bad ones speak for the bad ones, let the good ones speak for the good ones. But I would be amiss if I didn't say this, because Eric would kill me. We gotta start reporting. We have to. I come from a place where we just charge it to the gang. We gotta stop doing that. When you engage with one of them bad cops, you witness something like that, report it. Stop thinking, forget the blue water shield and all that mess. Report it. That's what Eric teaches in the course.
Right on.
You got to build up that paperwork to get them bad cops out there. And I'm going to say also, in closing, get involved.
Right on.
If you want to see a change in the police force, get involved. Join the force. They don't even have an age limit.
Yeah.
Join the force, man.
No, that's good. You wanna it's talk. What you just said is about being a part of the solution.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. 100%.
Instead of, we can identify problems. That's great. You identify them, but then we got to get to a point where we become a part of the solution.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Instead of pointing fingers and this and that and the other, because we can do that all day. But we got to jump off the porch and do something about it in one way, shape, form, or fashion, in a way that builds up the community, right?
Yep.
So that's good stuff. Thank you for your insight and input on that. Let's land this on H-Town. You're talking about the music industry there in New Orleans, and then now in H-Town. So you were name dropping a little bit. Talk about that in Texas.
Yeah. So I have speed straight from New Orleans, but Houston embraced me, man. And so when I came to Houston, first person I met was Trey 9.
Right. Shout out to Trey.
Shout out to Trey, man. Trey is a walking, talking superhero.
Yep.
Excuse me. So I met Trey. Trey signed me to Much Love, gave me my first national deal with Central South Distribution, same people that handle the Cray and Reach Records and all that. So I met Trey, and then 007 and Vine Wine and
Come on now.
SOM, Corey Paul.
Yeah, man.
So many people, man.
Right.
And so me and 007, we just formed a friendship.
Right.
And we started the group Raw, Ready and Willing, to
Right.
preach the gospel, teach the gospel anywhere and everywhere. And we did several projects. The City Never Sleeps, Raw America, and the Raw Report. And when we did Raw America, we did a deal with Jay Prince with Rap a Lot.
Yeah.
He helped finance some things for us. Even let me I got a Rap a Lot chain.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And, we fully men of God.
Yeah.
Fully representing God, but just doing business in the marketplace.
What was that like?
I mean, it was
with Jay Prince.
phenomenal, man. Jay is one of the smartest dudes I ever met, real humble, and he knows this game, man.
Yeah.
And he loves God. He helped build the church, Brook Hollow Church.
Yeah.
Pastor Ralph West over on the west side of Houston.
Okay.
Good dude, man.
Yeah.
I've never had any problems with Jay. Always respect. He wrote one of my favorite books, The Art and Science of Respect.
That's right. Yeah.
And, just a good dude, man.
Yeah, man.
Good dude.
That's a good book. Yeah, I read it too. Yeah.
That's Houston, man. Like I said, Houston embraced me with open arms, man. Even, I did some music with Bun B, again, all godly, bro.
What was that like? What was that like, being able to work with Bun B?
I mean, shucks, bro. That's a living legend. That's somebody I looked up to.
Straight
You know
up.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
being able to do that, it's kind of like was a bucket list thing. But I'll give you an even doper bucket list story, bro. The D.O.C. No one can do it better.
Oh, you talking about straight out of D-Town.
Doc, man.
Man,
So
tell me about that.
forever, this account was following me on Twitter. His account. That's not really Doc.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's what I thought at least. One day I went in the inbox, I said, bro, he always showed love. Like every now and again he'll retweet something. And so I'm like, man, I said, dog, if this really Doc, man, like I want to come down to Dallas, have a meeting with you. You know what I'm saying? And he was like, you gonna come down here? I said, yeah. He said, give me a date. Like, oh, man, this man catfishing, man. And so I was like, I got a lot of people in Dallas, so if it's fake, I just make it,
Yeah, it is what it
a
is.
trip. Man, when that man came around that corner, Pastor G, he was glowing. Say, bro, you gotta understand, man. D.O.C., is one of the reasons that made me really take writing seriously, bro. 1988, 1989.
Bro.
I'm 19 years old, man. And that man's pen, then he didn't cuss.
Yeah, straight up.
He was writing for N.W.A.
That's right.
Part of N.W.A., but he was totally different. They was rapping what they was rapping, but when you listen to that album, said, bro, it was
energy.
Oh, bro, it was different.
Yeah.
And so, man, I spent the whole day with dude, man, like 6-7 hours.
That's dope.
Talking,
D.O.C.
telling his story, bro. And so even now, we still tight. They got some things coming down the pipe. I'm telling you first, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man.
With him, there's a documentary he's about to do. It's done, actually.
Yeah.
So that's my biggest. Well, Jay Prince would be, Doc would be the biggest.
Okay.
And being able to work with Jay would be the second biggest because that's my childhood stuff that shaped me when it come down to my pen.
Yeah.
So that's Texas, man. I love Texas. Shout out to the H.
Man, so I've talked about, over here in Texas, what it was like listening to, the folks from Louisiana, right?
Yeah.
How was it for you in Louisiana hearing some of the folks in Texas, and who were they?
Yeah, it was the same. Now, I wasn't familiar with screw music whatsoever.
Right.
So screw, didn't touch us, but the Ghetto Boys,
right,
Fifth Ward Boyz,
yeah, that's way back. Yeah,
the rapping our roster.
Yeah,
I mean, major in New Orleans. That's all we, so, outside our local music, that was our national music. We love Texas.
Just
outside
like that?
Screw.
Wow. Now, screw was later.
Screw, yeah, yeah.
But UGK, Bun B, all that ghetto boy
days, yeah.
Did you? I got to ask you this because I'm gonna interview him next.
Yeah.
Or later today.
Yeah.
But I know you work closely with 007 from Fifth Ward Boyz, man.
Brother. Yeah.
Did you ever hear any of his music before you met him?
Of course.
Okay, talk to us about that. What was that like?
P.W.A. was an anthem for us.
Okay, yeah, I know what
you
don't
know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you
mean. That's what our life was about every day. What you after? P.W.A.
Right.
And so, man, we used to jam that all the time, man.
Really?
And so coming him, he was fresh out of jail when we met too. He had just did like 6 years, 4 years, something like that.
So you're in the music industry.
Yes.
And so we're following you with all this, right?
Yeah.
But then let's come back where you come from Louisiana, from Texas.
I'm here.
And you've heard this guy, his group.
Yeah.
And so what was that like, bro? He get out of the prison, you meet him, what's going on?
Man, it was dope. Like you meeting one of these people that you grew up jamming. You know what I'm saying? And here he is in the flesh. I had the same experience with Bushwick Bill.
Yeah, Bushwick.
And then you're meeting them on this side.
Yeah.
Dub was a man of God when I met him.
Yeah.
He hadn't turned away from, the negativity and everything. And so it's like being able to really connect with him as a brother, man, it's an experience even now. This is my man. Dub is not an associate. 007 is my brother. We talk every day pretty much. You know what I'm saying? We do life together.
Come on now.
We travel together, barbecues, our kids, his wife, that's my man, and so knowing that he's a living legend, this man then toured with Pac and toured with Biggie, and he's 007 on the Fifth Ward Boyz. But outside of that, he's a real man of God.
Straight up.
And he's one of those ones that he can still be out there if he wanted to, man. And he totally decided to pick up his cross and walk with God. You gotta salute that, bro.
Absolutely.
Got to, man.
Absolutely.
So I love Dub, man.
Man, shout out to 007.
Rest in peace, Bushwick.
Yeah. I had a chance to meet him as well. Man.
Yeah.
But may you rest in peace, man, in heaven. So man, thank you for sharing, some of the music industry part of all that, especially from Louisiana and then coming here to Texas and still being able to move forward in your faith right from over there and your career path. And then even in the music industry.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool, man. And God has given you amazing opportunity to be able to be around. You're not too many folks are given the opportunity, that you have gotten. I talk to people all the time, and you're one of the first that I could hear that has come across some of the greats in the music industry for us hip hop heads, right? May not mean nothing to nobody else, but us hip hop heads, that's a big deal, man. And then of course, coming to Texas, man, and H-Town is it's mecca for Texas. And so to be able to be around some of those folks in the music industry, and then of course, man, we gotta give our flowers to the Christian hip hop industry and the folks there, man. That's a blessing because that is what's been able to sustain you and keep you in this music industry to get you where you at, man, as far as with O. But then, giving a shout out as you did earlier to Trey 9, who's a pivotal individual here in H-Town in the music industry, and among other things, you know. But man, that's dope, man. I appreciate your well-roundedness of your story that you brought to the table today.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
It's such a blessing, and it's a humbling opportunity, for us on this end to be able to come across folks like you, man, that God has done great and beautiful miracles in and through and continue to. And you said you are an educator, bro.
Absolutely. 8th grade English, brother.
8th grade English. Oh my God. These are young people that are bouncing off the walls.
With the crazy mind.
Oh, bro, throw it off. It is, bro. They throw it off, bro. It is, me and my wife work with young people all around.
Pray for our kids.
No. But we're praying for you. Yeah, we're praying for our kids. But we're praying for you because, man, you have the audacity given from God to be able to bring education, love, grace, and mercy to the classroom. And thank you for being a role model.
Thank you.
Thank you for being who God has called you to be. Thank you for your obedience.
Thank you.
Because, man, that blesses everyone, man. So we appreciate you for all you do for the kids, for the community, and all over the nation, man, and world. So
thank you, man. Thank you.
Peace and God bless you, my brother.
Thank you. I appreciate you. And thank you for having me, man. I don't take it lightly, man. You can do a million different things with your platform. You know what I mean? So inviting me, allowing me to come on the platform is humbling, bro. I appreciate you just like you appreciate me.
Amen.
So it's all love.
Amen.
Yeah.
Blessings, man. Amen.